Greetings and welcome to the Hidden Wisdom Unveiled 7th Seal Lesson 1, Awakening to Divinity, on our new show, The Esoteric Agora. This material is designed to expand your awareness of your divine connection to Source. There is activation energy within this material that actually opens your receptivity to information as frequency, which is being constantly transmitted from the universe.
Certainly the sign of the times with the 4 blood moons that we had beginning 2 Easters ago, when it was Easter all around the world at the same time. It was the opening of the 6th seal, when the divine consciousness really started to awaken, prophesied obviously by a variety of places in the Bible. And so we're now entering, and have since 11/22 of last year, we entered into the activation of the 7th seal. What was interesting about the Grand Cross that happened 2 Easters ago is it was emphasizing these key locations that you learn about in the material relevant to the Golden Gate and the Silver Gate, which has been recorded in ancient Egypt as a grand Golden Age activation. And so all of this alignment towards the Golden Gate has been clearly felt by many people as we have the activations and the deepening and the alignments occurring. And so this year, the 7th seal is going to be folding more and more all the way up until November 22nd. So we're doing this series and episodes to awaken more awareness about what's going on, and the nature of it is very profound and exciting. So what we have is a understanding that codes have been placed in the English language, and you need numerology to decipher those codes. And so we're going to teach you a little bit about the foundational understanding anyway of numerology, because the whole story is told and it's been encoded into the English language about our ancient future, our mystical past. And so it's interesting even that Sir Francis Bacon, as Saint Germain, basically created ciphers and keys and codes which he put into the English language. And so again, in order to discover these keys and unlock the hidden wisdom, you have to know how to do numerology. And there's a couple ways to do that. And then when you have that knowledge, you can access the wisdom that's inherent in all of the systems. There's quite a bit of hidden wisdom throughout the variety of systems, and by that I mean through numerology, tarot, astrology. And so being able to see the synchronicity in your life by the numbers. It's interesting because back in 2000, Agent Scully would wake up and see the clock, and then it would turn to 11:22. And I've already had a decade of seeing 11:22, so I thought it was like some profound synchronistic mystery that they knew what was going on. But many people have been seeing 11, 22, 222, etc. on the clock. And this is when you become more in tune with the universe, you become more activated. And actually, in the ancient Gnostic scriptures, there was a lot of hidden information that was spoken of and hinted towards that has been uncovered through working the numerology. And once you understand that information, you'll be astounded, and you'll be able to reign over your dominion. And so access to the Golden Gate and the divine portal is becoming more and more accessible. And so even in the ancient Emerald tablets, Thoth talks about a magic science where number 7 is prevalent. And what we'll find through this material is that 7 actually has many hidden layers to it, as many of the numbers do.
And here we have Thoth saying, "Deep beneath the image lies my secret. Search and find in the pyramid I built. Each to the other is the keystone, each the gateway that leads into life. Follow the key I leave behind. Seek in the doorway to life shall be thine. Seek thou in my pyramid, deep in the passage that ends in a wall. Use thou the key of 7, and open to thee the pathway will fall. Now unto thee I've given my wisdom, now unto thee I've given my way. Follow the pathway, solve thou my mysteries, unto thee I have shown the way."
It's pretty profound to see in Pista Sophia that they're talking about the numerological value of 7 times 7, or 49. And, of course, the emphasis on the 7 vowels, and all that doesn't become too surprising when it's realized that the ancient mystery school had a 7th seal symbol, much like this, which was encoded with numbers, of course. So all sacred geometry symbols are encoded with numbers that correlate to the points and the axes. And so all of creation is made up of 7 sounds, 7 colors, and 7 frequencies. So this symbol itself that I channeled in 1996 has encoded within it the number 22, which is also prominent throughout this material, as we'll come to see as we proceed. Of course, you can go back and pause this and read in more detail. We're just kind of going across the surface, but once you really fully understand this information,
this symbol is really powerful as it's encoded with the keys and all the knowledge of the information.
we'll have a little test and certify you to be able to be a practitioner of this information. And wouldn't it be nice to have a deeper understanding of all these ancient symbols that have been across the planet for so long, much like the flower of life, which is seen in many traditions around the planet, as we see in this example here. So the keys of the Golden Age are understanding the hidden wisdom, the symbols, the numbers, secret names, even the names that are coded in the English language that we'll come to discover are correlated to the zodiac. And so having this insight will again create greater awareness for the activations that are happening and be able to see in the world around you, whether on license plates or phone numbers or however the clock, the synchronicities show up in a variety of ways. So you'll see sequences in this material that'll start to show up in your reality, your divine matrix. So here on the screen is a ancient thing that we'll decode that actually has a deeper understanding of how all this stuff activates your mind and the sequences that are very profound. So getting right into it, the master key for doing numerology is pretty simple. Just want to grab a sheet of paper to expand on this and do some tests for yourself. And, you can write this or relate to this, but in a couple slides we're going to have a deeper understanding and have you do an exercise that expands this simple table into a double-digit number code key for accessing everything. So it's pretty simple that the letter A is a 1 and the letter 9 is an I, and then it just repeats itself on the next line. J is 1 and over here R is 9. So now we only have 26 letters in our alphabet. We don't have one in the last square. There are languages and alphabets on the planet that have 27, but we're going to find out something interesting about ours as we proceed. So basically, the vowels go on top and the consonants go on the bottom, and then you would add those up on the top and then add them up along the bottom. And the values that are reached tell a story. And in understanding the property of the number, it's very useful to understand that every number carries a frequency, positive or negative as well. And so since everything unfolded from the Great Mother, we start with the female value with the number 1. And we're going to proceed here and learn what each one of these numbers represents And what we also come to find out is that the Merkaba itself has all the numbers except 369. And anyway, the unfolding of the numbers are interesting. They tell a story from source, mother, being birthed, to all the way to the bottom at 9, returning to wholeness. And in essence, an alternating male-female frequency until it reaches 9. And at 9, it's the unity. It's the whole integration of the male and the female. And so what we'll also find out, we're going to have you do some of these here, pick some of these and do numerology on them. But I wanted to make one more reference to the fact that the last two numbers before 9 are 7 and 8. And those are the most mystical and the most transcendental of the numbers, because they embody the primary principles that need to be integrated before you become complete in the number 9. And we'll hone in on that in this broadcast about the significance of 7 and 8. Pick a couple of these numbers. We're going to give you a few minutes to do numerology if you already know how to do that, or if you need to look at your chart so that you have the key to unlocking the values of these numbers. And then we'll give you the answers in just a minute if you want to participate. Now's the time. And in just a minute, we'll reveal what these add up to. And then what I want you to gaze upon is that many of these profound words have the same number. Look at that. 7 tells a story. Birth, mother, serpent, dragon. These are all the feminine goddess principle values. And we'll get into what the rest of them are in later slides or episodes. Now, to have a deeper understanding of the ability to see beyond the first layer, the reason we call this meta-numerology is because if you can see a bigger number before the final number is derived, because in numerology you're always trying to break the number down to its final number. If you're looking at 18, it's 1 plus 8 is 9. And so, but at the same time, there could be a value behind that we miss. Like, let's say if it added up to 333 before it was a 9, you would want to know that. So the way that you discover that, which is not that well known or taught, is you work with the double-digit version of the letter. And so you can write down on your piece of paper, under your other table, you can finish the formula by just picking up with the number count. So S would be 19, T is 20, and finish out the grid. When we do that, and then we take those numbers and we look at the values, you see we have much bigger numbers, and we're going to end up with a much larger result. And so the phrase Christ consciousness, when you do it in this method, we're going to end up with the value, which is shown on the next slide, that's going to become quite interesting. Again, vowels on top, consonants on the bottom, and the value of that phrase is 252, which is a mirror reflection or an inside out of 522 and 225, which is actually the location of the Silver Gate, May 22nd, that the Sphinx is gazing at. And so the story again has a correlation with the numbers that you would miss if you didn't have a widened back lens to see everything properly. And again, all about 1122 in so many ways, the Golden Gate. So many of the key number phrases in the story reference 1122. The core truth to all this is that numbers make up all of existence and all frequencies and sacred geometry, and all of it have a number, pattern, sequence, or value behind it. And so, again, if we didn't have the lens of the meta-numerology, you would miss the ability to know that behind 13 is also 22. And it's not just because of how you add it up, it's also because anytime you have a 4, which you don't break down a master number, but anytime you have an 11, you would also have a 2. So behind the 2 is an 11. And behind the number is also typically a variety, at least 3 other ways that single number may be derived. But inherent in the number is the frequency. And so, because we recognize that male adds up to 13, and inside of 13 is the frequency of 22, we then can see...
Jesus said, I will also give you the mystery of the baptism for those of the middle, and the manner of invocation for reaching those regions, along with their ciphers and seals.
Your higher consciousness. Essentially, the divine feminine and the balance of the male-female is the key ingredient, and that has been suppressed throughout history. It has been kept from us. The separation has been inflicted by what I call churchianity. So, going deeper now, so we can hone in on the values of some numbers here. Melchizedek Master, which is what you become after you complete these courses, you become activated into the mystery school of the ancient order of the Melchizedek. And we're also going to be doing a variety of things in Sacred Spirit Society that accentuate that you're becoming a master teacher and master healer through all of these awakenings. So isn't it interesting that the mind and the heart, which are clearly representative of the feelings and the emotions, as an 11, and mind is 22. By the way, the word emotions also adds up to 11. So proceeding on, we get a bigger picture. It's becoming more and more profound. And isn't it interesting, in the Bible, I and the Father are one, as a key phrase, adds up to 11, 22, 33. And there's a lot of key phrases in the Gnostic scripture that are very revealing, that talks about a secret path, the middle way, and the ciphers and the seals for reaching that region or that level of consciousness, which again is very highlighted throughout this material. And so, again, isn't it interesting, the legend of the cipher and the seals add up to 1122. And then throughout the next couple screens, we're going to have a few other words. If you want to do them, what you're going to find most astonishing is they all carry the same code, the same frequency, and a deeper understanding will be revealed. So the answer to code is, what's inherent in code is going to be the same as what you see here. We'll reveal that answer if you're not doing it in a moment. If you're doing the work, you're going to find that the value from the last 2 words are the same value as these 2 words. And again, on the next screen, we'll have 2 more words, and the value that you derive from the top word and the bottom word are exactly the same, which creates a theme, a formula. And that formula is pretty profound when you come to understand that also the value of those 2 numbers are inherent in the mosaic tile pattern that makes up the fabric of the universe. And when you have that understanding of those base numbers, then you have the ability to crack the metamechanics, the quantum mechanics behind the divine matrix. And so the answer was 7, 11. But isn't it interesting, the word 7 adds up to 11. And also, it's quite profound to discover that if you do numerology on the odd numbers in the number sequence of 1 through 9, it adds up to 7. And when you do it on the even, it adds up to 11. Now you take those two basic words, which are very indicative of the blending of the male and the female, positive and negative. Those two words themselves add up to 15.6. We're going to have quite a bit of emphasis on 15.6. It's going to tell a great story as we proceed in this episode. So you'll have a better understanding of the lattice work that tells our heritage. Now, by the way, when you're doing numerology, you can also, this is going to refresh, we're going to give you a key that you can actually leave behind number 9s. You can eliminate them from your map, and it doesn't change the end value. So it's a very unique way to add up the numbers rapidly. And also the other thing is, after you work with it a couple times, you'll come to understand that G is 7, and so there's only 26 to memorize, and you'll become pretty good at that. So isn't it also profound to realize that all of the key words in the Bible that tell the story of ascension are, yep, you guessed it, number 22. Again, the information between the gate that tells the story are told by the key numbers, as these examples demonstrate. The lost gate adds up to 11. The path home adds up to 11. And so the Great Pyramids are also situated in a way that tell a deeper story. So it's sort of like knock and the door shall be open. And you'll be able to walk through when you have this understanding that even in the basic numerological values of some of the key elements in the zodiac, of the the 6 directions, that the characters that fit in those signs on those houses, the word for the character matches the house. So the sign for the character matches the location, which is really astonishing. So clearly that didn't happen by accident. That was man-made, and as we will come to understand more and more, that the English language has been laced with the ancient story and the lost wisdom. It's all completely reinforced over and over. So the key to everything is in understanding that the words create the reality that we experience. Spoken word is energy. As the projection of thought, these energies are arranged into various patterns. These patterns are all vibrations of frequency, which galvanize and solidify events into very reality we see. Pythagoras learned about these secrets in the mystery schools in Egypt. He spent 22 years there, and when he returned, he started his own mystery school, and he was coined the father of numerology. So in the deeper episodes, you learn about the 3-4-5 triangle, and Pythagoras also taught about frequency, sound, and healing with these modalities. And we wouldn't have much information about his mystery school in present time if we didn't have people like Aristotle remarking on what they believe. And he's kind of chiding them in their belief, but with everything that is revealed here and in some of the writings, you will clearly see that the reference to numbers being the whole of everything is very much the reality. So read this real quick to you. Megan, can you read this for us?
Yeah. Aristotle on Pythagoras. Note his thoughts on what Pythagoras taught. Well, they, too, manifest a regard number as principle, both in the sense that it is the material of things and in the sense that it constitutes their properties, and states, the elements of number are, they think, the even and odd, the former being unlimited and the latter limited. Unity is composed of both factors, for they say it is both even and odd. Number is derived from unity, and numbers constitute the whole heaven.
Aristotle wrote some other things that really augment this understanding. No, not yet. So here, Ava, you want to read this one to us?
Sure thing. At the same time, and even earlier, the so-called Pythagoreans attached themselves to the mathematics and were the first to advance that science by their education, in which they were led to suppose that the principles of mathematics are the principles of all things. So as numbers are logically first among principles, and as they fancied, they could perceive in numbers many analogs of what is and what comes into being, much more readily than fire and earth and water. Such and such a property of number being justice, and such and such another soul or mind, and so on with all the individual cases. And since they further observed that the properties in determining ratios of harmony depended on numbers, since in fact everything else manifestly appeared to be modeled in its entire character on numbers, and numbers to be the ultimate things in the whole universe, they became convinced that the elements of numbers are the elements of everything, and that the whole heaven is harmony and number.
So, hey, thank you, Aristotle. Yeah, that's super powerful. And we wouldn't know that if you didn't, make fun of the mystery school. All right, proceeding further. This has also been taught in the Pythagorean mystery school, that all these opposites are the basic black and white formula of the polarity between negative and positive. And really, energy, the negative and the positive hold all existence together. And so the ancient story of balancing the male and the female becomes very evident of the way to ascend. And again, that the building blocks of creation are inherent in even the things that people are learning more about, relevant to the flower of life and the tree of life and all these things. There are dimensions behind them when you come to understand the numbers that are correlated. So that's why it's so important to have a foundational understanding of the numerology. And then we can even make sense of that saying that was in the Gnostic scriptures about 49. The word divinity adds up to 49. 49 is also a 13, 4 plus 9, and 13 is perfection. The value of 13 is perfection. And of course we knew that 13 has 22 inherent in it, and 22 is really a significant number too, because it actually has the inherent value of the mastermind, the grand architect, the very divine intelligence side of the coin. Now, gematria is the Jewish mystics tool for doing numerology. So numerology in and of itself is very ancient. And sending the number values of the word was very important to the Jewish mystics. And it actually had a direct correlation to the Greek language and the words that were defined in the story, as we'll see. The word gematria comes from the Greek word geometria, having to do with meaning earth measure and geometry. The power and mystery of gematria, is only unleashed when it is used with geometry, graphs, diagrams, like this, and others. Also, the value of the numbers that derive the principal understanding of such simple things as squares, circles, triangles, etc. So, proceeding on, there's even a deeper understanding that was done in ancient times of decoding a picture and learning the hidden stories. And this ancient word and technology, in essence, derives its meaning from pebble, or like the ancient calculator, arranging petals to count numbers. Really interesting when you look at the word Zeus, it adds up to 612. And as we proceed, you'll see 612 or 126 as an astonishing number sequence in all of this. So history again tells us that Plato used isospia, and Plato, being one of the earliest Greek philosophers who used mathematical allegories, actually in two of his most important works, the Republic and Timaeus. To date, no ancient documents have been discovered that explain the secret meaning of Plato's work. Other literary works based on the art of gematria and isospia along with sacred geometry, must have existed, but no examples were thought to have survived to modern times. Plato must have taught this sacred art in his academy circa 285 BC. Well, it survives today because we are decoding it right now for you, and understanding the metanumerology are the keys to unraveling this riddle. It is interesting to note that Plato was considered an essential figure in the development of philosophy, especially the Western tradition, and he founded the Academy in Athens, the first institution of higher learning in the Western world, along with Socrates and his most famous student, Aristotle. Plato laid the foundations of Western philosophy and science, but he missed some pretty simple understanding. So yeah, as smart as Plato was, or I mean rather Aristotle, he missed some of the keys for going deeper. So thank God there's been enough information strewn about that we can be encouraged to pick up the pieces. So the pieces of the story that tell the whole picture are what are ultimately revealed in the seventh seal. There's going to be 7 primary episodes that outline all of the deep understandings around the hidden wisdom. So another example on the screen that I decoded from some information in the Gnostic scriptures that was pertaining to initiation activation that was being done to the disciples by Jesus. And they actually talked about the person that got anointed and activated received a seal. And they described the seal as circles and triangles, and they described the names, and we look at that in a deeper way in another episode. But so this is an example of Isis Sophia right here, and then there'll be correlating numbers behind this. Continuing on, Megan, can you read that first?
Yeah. The reason of how and why Isis Sophia and Gematria and sacred geometry were adopted, rediscovered, and expanded in ancient Greece is easy to understand, and as soon as one sees how the ancient Greeks incorporated numbers into their alphabet, the art of Gematria combined the literary skills of writing biographies, histories, plays, parables, riddles, and fiction with cutting-edge mathematics, geometry, and drafting. Using Gematria, incredible stories could be crafted into geometry puzzles that could be proved true, much like a geometry proof. Provided that Gematria's value of certain key names, words, dialogue, and verses were carefully crafted to match and describe the dimensions of its underlying diagram.
Okay, so that's pretty profound. You know, again, everything we're doing is giving you the tools to map out an ancient story that has been hidden in plain sight. Not only in the English language, but in the way and the manner that the Gnostic scriptures, for example, described, without drawing a picture, the things in the picture. So it becomes very fascinating to peel back the layers more and more around what was hidden. It's also quite profound that when I drew the cover of my third book, I did not intend it to be laden with value, number, and storytelling. I was just doing a piece of art, but when you read my book, and here you'll find that the values inside are most astonishing because it carried the story of the triple-digit sequence numbers without me even realizing it. So I kind of like auto-drew, co-created with my higher self. I used to channel my higher self quite a bit, but now I'm more online and integrated and activated in my divine consciousness. So even a decade ago, because these initiations and activations have been happening to me for about 3 decades, the integration enabled me to have access to this wisdom that has allowed me to put together this information. Now, this information's been, done for about a decade, but I couldn't release it until Spirit gave me the go-ahead on the 6th seal, which was 2 Easters ago. So the opening of the 7th seal now is this body of material and this deeper understanding that we're being able to access now. So looking here at the Greek alphabet, it's something that was invented almost 1,000 years before the birth of Christ. And in that time, every one of the 24 letters in the Greek alphabet represented a number as well as a sound. And the 888 structure, 3 rows of 8 on the table below, holds the letters of the Greek alphabet, has a direct correlation to the name Jesus, even 1,000 years before his birth. Now, as we get into deeper volumes of this material, we'll understand that the Christ model is something that has been around for a very long time, and there have been many that have come as avatars with the same message and even the identical story. But going deeper now, since every name and word in the Greek language had a corresponding numerical value, words could be expressed as numbers and numbers could be expressed as words. This made the Greek alphabet a public cipher and immediately encouraged two numerical superstitions called gematria or gematria and isosophia. So people were like writing on the wall. They were actually putting coded message about how they hated the emperor. You know, it's pretty funny when you look deeply at the history and what has been recorded around how this has played out. So, and anyway, a similar system also existed in ancient Egypt, where they were writing recipes encoded on the wall or spells encoded on the wall for generations to come to decode. Okay, so can't see the whole thing. Their numbers actually had double digits inherent in them for a metanumerological value already superimposed in the table. Okay, so the Jewish mystics have a similar understanding, which are emphasized in ancient texts called the Zohar. And I've read through a bunch of these volumes. Again, I read through many ancient texts looking for the clues that would resemble a clearer understanding of all of this. And the thing that stood out to me there is it plainly states that the Bible is the garment or outer skin, and that the words are not as important as what is hidden underneath the surface. In fact, they went on to say if we wanted to tell a story, we could have done a better job. And so it was really about what was hidden between the lines. The teachings reveal that there are secret codes hidden throughout all of creation which unveil the truth about us, or the potential and our reality. Actually, it comes to mind to mention about Saint Germain. Sir Francis Bacon was the Lord Chancellor of King James, and he was commissioned to write the King James Version Bible. And so he and his pen pals, the Shakespeare team that finalized and created English language out of Tudor English, basically built into a lot of, and we reveal this very plainly, but built into the text codes and hidden wisdom. And so, again, if the Jewish mystics and those that were on the team writing the Bible wanted to tell a story, they could have done a better job, but it was really about making everything add up and line up to communicate the hidden wisdom. And so the Kabbalah and the Tree of Life are also a form of this knowledge, and some of those codes and keys will be revealed also throughout this material. And we'll see a common thread, particularly in relationship to the number 33. So basically, the Greek name for Jesus adds up to 888. Some of you may have heard before that the number of God is 888. This is why. And there's other sacred numbers which are revealed, keywords or phrases, other numbers that you might recognize from reading the Bible, like 144 or 72, have a correlating phrase. The heart is 72. Oh, it's also pretty profound to realize that the Fibonacci sequence carries some of these numbers, and so 144, which is up the line further, is the value of the Tree of Life. And the next one, the value of the Garden of Eden, is 233. So the mystery school, which was thriving in Egypt for quite a while, you know, in 600 BC, we had Pythagoras go to Egypt and go through the mystery schools. There have been many that have done this. So in 1,200 years later, in 650 AD, we find that Justinianus made a edict that said if anybody is practicing mathematical divination, they will be put to death. Hey, it's okay if they do the science of geometry. That's in public interest. It's okay if they're doing normal mathematics. But if you are a soothsayer or, doing the mystery school key code, you're going to get killed. Wow. So clearly they didn't want you to have the understanding and the ability to activate your divine consciousness and come online as a self-realized being or a Christ being. Okay, so the basics. Can somebody read this for us?
Take it away. I'll take it away. The basics. The Egyptians taught that everything is in divine order, or math. Is that correct? Every action has an opposite and equal reaction. All of creation is expressed in balance and harmony. Everything is made up of electric and magnetic essential properties. The polarities of male and female can be seen everywhere we look. In fact, everything is held together through the equipoise of both as one. Everything is energy, light, and consciously aware. This is why the first part of the Bible emphasizes, let there be light.
And so it is. Let there be consciousness. Let there be divine awareness. Actually, there's quite a few things encoded in the first chapter of the Bible. It becomes very exciting to decode in later episodes. So the key is within. The message is echoed in many ways down through the ages as the way to wisdom and eternal life. The nature of the universe is a hologram. From the macrocosmic to the microcosmic, every level reflects one another. Patterns demonstrate the existence of intelligence or consciousness. So a lot of this material is about recognizing patterns. And patterns, again, demonstrates intelligence, that it was man-made. Or a hint at the divine intelligence, like Mother Nature's formula, the Fibonacci sequence, which everything in creation unfolds according to. The Merkaba sequence itself is hidden within each of the components that make up the whole. So a basic little simple sequence becomes obvious, and we're going to tap into that in the next couple slides. Harmony and balance. So the blending of the positive and the negative, simple geometric shapes that tell the story become crystal clear in this way of looking at the universe. Everything always comes back to some degree of simplicity and can be understood by adhering to some basic tenets. The seventh seal has revealed and reinforced these as absolute. In science, truth must be verifiable and repeatable. This is a beneficial rule to follow and apply as much as possible. However, the universe reflects reality in a variety of ways. As you clearly see, so doing some super simple numerology on the values of each of the triangles, it reveals the number 27, which is 9. Everything always comes back to 9 as a fundamental statement that's proven to be true. So completion, whole, unity, 9. When you bring the two triangles together, the male and the female, they unite as one. We're going to see some other profound examples of that in a couple slides. So we're building up with the basic building blocks here. And again, 3, 6, 9 are also inherent in all of this as the divine frequency of unity. It represents spirit. Colors and shapes add up to the white numbers. So inside of the simple tetrahedron, there's a mathematical sequence that's derived. Let's look at that a little bit longer, revealing that 1 plus 2 equals 3 in this avenue, an angle of above and below. 5 and 4 equal 9 right there in that direction, and 8 and 7 is 15, 6, and so it adds up to the direction of 6. The duality reality. We live in a polarity existence that is ever in balance, and yet everything is in opposition to something else. All of creation, from macrocosm to microcosm, reveals the interaction of positive and negative. proton particle carries a positive electric charge while a neutron particle possesses a magnetic quality. These fundamental principles reinforce the existence and are literally in everything. It can be shown there is order in apparent chaos by understanding these simple principles. When you look at things through the lens of everything is simply electric or magnetic, positive or negative, as you can see here, much like the Pythagoras table of opposites, did anybody notice that the word masculinity adds up to 11 and femininity adds up to 7, which were the values of those words that we did earlier, dark and light. So dark adds up to 7 and light adds up to 11. It's inherent in the story, encoded in the story, one balance. 1 is 7, balance is 11. So again, it's not a synchronicity that these things happen. It's divine intelligence at work. Because when you look at these perfect opposites of pi and phi, it becomes pretty astonishing to realize what the value of the ratio when you do the numerology on each one of them is. And of course, for those that don't know, pi applies to the circumference of circles and phi applies to the length or distance of lines, rectangles, and triangles. So they're very much the opposite masculine and feminine values of each other, because one is lines and the other is circles, and one is produces harmony and balance and the other produces random chaos. And so when you do the numerology on the ratio itself, 1 plus 6 plus 1 plus 8 is 7. 3 plus 1 plus 4 is 8. Remember earlier we said we would talk about the value of 7 and 8. It carries over to a deeper understanding that the human body is in balance between alkaline and acid, and that the perfect pH balance is actually what? Anybody? It's around 7 point something. So it's actually right between 7 and 8. Can you read this for a minute?
Absolutely. Mother, father, spirit. Mother is 7, father is 4, spirit is 1. 7 plus 4 plus 1 is 12, 3. Matter is 14 over 5. Son is 12 over 3. Daughter 21 over 3. 8 plus 5 plus 2 is 15, 6. And there we have the Merkaba. When the mother and father join the son and the daughter, the two become one. Spirit equals 1. We have 15, 6. Moving on to the next slide here. Oh, that's great. Revealing the truth. Merkaba. Ba equals soul plus ka. Spirit, Mer, fire, and light, or the Merkaba. 7.
Okay, let's just think for a moment. You know what we just looked at was the two triangles that come together. What is that? That's true. That's actually talked about in the Gnostic scriptures as when the two become one, then you enter the kingdom of God. You know, then you come online with the divine consciousness. But what was inherent in the numbers was the idea that triangles, shapes, in other words, and numbers correlated with the words, code, story, have the message delivered in meaning. And so, isn't it also profound to see that the top of the word is typically like the soul, the feminine principle, and the bottom of the word is mind, is like the personality of the word. And so you've got the feminine part of this word is 7, which is the feminine quality of 7 represents the descriptions earlier, 7 represents wisdom and spirit. There's someone rustling on the line that's not muted.
Someone having a little snack.
Oh, that was me. Sorry, it was in my pocket, unmuted. Okay, I'm on mute.
So isn't it interesting to witness that 7 is the feminine part of the word and 8 is the masculine part of the word, and 8 also being the masculine number. Anybody? What does 8 represent, Megan?
Infinity.
8 is power, authority, management, money. It's very materialistic and you know, I want to say manifest. So again, as the basic building blocks, we're going to see something very profound happen in understanding that when these come together, when this energy field comes online and goes up around you, the blending and the balance brings a higher level of consciousness. It's pretty profound, too, to understand that the vowels are considered sacred breath. And when you study language and everything, and the spoken word, basically the ancients also in their ceremony practiced toning, you know, and oming and opening the throat and releasing the sacred breath to form sound. And so actually in the Hebrew and the other ancient languages, the vowels were considered sacred. And so the other consonants, they represent letters that are enunciated with a constricted throat, an obstructed throat. So that's pretty interesting to understand. Also, when you do numerology on the vowels, that ends up to 15-6. Again, you know, accentuating the Merkaba and the keys to the wisdom. And then the remaining number, or letters rather, and their corresponding numbers add up to 12, which is also a 3. But so when you take those values and you bring it together, you get 27. And so 27, as we talked about earlier, is the perfect language, the perfect set of letters in a language, although English only has 26. But guess what? The numerological value of all those letters and their corresponding numbers add up to 27. So it's inherent within.
Would that be considered another veil?
Yeah.
Another...
Yep. 3 plus 6 equals 9 is those other numbers that we talked about as being the divine
Keys to ascension.
It becomes even more astonishing to realize that the word knowledge does the same thing. It's a feminine frequency of 7 on top, a masculine frequency of 8 on the bottom. 7 plus 8 is 15-6. And when we look at the word wisdom, it adds up to 11. Again, a master number, and the formula knowledge plus love equals wisdom is what's emphasized even in the Gnostic scriptures. And so the value of knowledge adds up to 33 also when you take the larger numbers, take the meta-numerological values, you see the bigger picture. So it's pretty profound that this truth that sets you free is emphasized in every aspect of the story. The Trinity is not about just the Son, it's about the daughter and the Son, and the awareness of the expansion of the story correlates that even Mars and Venus, which represent the male and female energy, also add up to 33. 33 in and of itself, representing the date that Christ ascended, representing the date, or the time, geological location, date and time is a formula when you come to look at the Great Pyramid. Is sitting near the 33rd parallel. The Giza complex itself is on it, and correlating number codes beneath the words also reveal 111, which shows up as a activation sequence in the deeper parts of the material. So laying the foundation and giving you the ammunition of the building blocks so that we can activate your Merkaba greater and greater ways, unveiling the hidden wisdom that further communicates the way to ascension in the Gnostic scriptures, saying number 22, emphasizes the disciples were asking Jesus, what do we need to be, like little children to get in the kingdom of God? Do we need to be that pure? And basically, Jesus responds, the outside like the inside, and the above like the below, and you make the male and the female one and the same, so that the male might not be male, though the female be female. Then you enter the kingdom. So it's a balance of all these things that we've been talking about. And the portrayal of the story as numerology and the correlating number sequences also activate consciousness, trigger dormant DNA. Another Gnostic scripture saying is, when you make the two into one, you will become sons of man. And when you say, oh mountain, go elsewhere, it will go elsewhere. So, giving you superpower capability when the two become one is not only a message from the sign of Christ, it's found in the Emerald Tablets, where Thoth communicates that he was speaking with the Council of Nine, and they told him to seek to find the path beyond, not impossible is to grow, to a consciousness above.
For when the two have become one.
And one has become all. Know ye, the veil has lifted, and ye are made free on the pathway. Grow thou from form to formless. So, we also come to learn that the key phrase, two becoming one, adds up to a number sequence that correlates to a deeper part of the story. It's also pretty amazing to see that Jesus told us the formula in this Gnostic scripture when he said that he created a great eon whose name was Ogdod for his own majesty and persistent perishabilities and the authority. Each created a great kingdom in the eight. We're also going to learn what's significant about eight and its relationship to the Golden Gate, and also these thrones and temples and firmaments which were created for the majesties will be found in the eight. Anyway, finally, whoever knows the Son of Man in knowledge and love, let him bring me a sign of the Son of Man, that he might depart to the dwelling places with those in the eight. So right here, Jesus is saying, knowledge and love are the key. And in our understanding that's been delivered throughout this, we come to emphasize and understand that the phrase knowledge plus love does in fact equal wisdom, and that it carries a super simple understanding of a trinity of numbers, master numbers. 11 plus 22 equals 33, and 33 is divine consciousness, and the activation of this awareness brings you more in line with your oversoul. And so, again, emphasizing, unless you make the left hand like the right hand, and the things above like the things below, and the things in front like the things behind you, you will not realize the kingdom. And thank God it's an easy formula. Knowledge plus love equals wisdom. And then the integrated higher and lower self create the balance of the male and the female, integrating the past and the future into the present, eternal now moment. And from that place in the center, we really go online and access our divine consciousness. The harmony of the negative and the positive polarities as the energy that extends to all parts of the whole, including all the perceived opposites, and yet all are one. Everything was created first as both male and female, literally made up of both positive and negative, or dark and light, inherent in one human being made both male and female. God did this for the balance. We have to have everything in balance in order to access the divine consciousness. So this is the key to understanding the underlying metamechanics of quantum nature of creation. And this awareness of duality becomes the key. And the mastery of this wisdom results in the power to wield the language of life as co-creators. And further, so said, become masters of light and dark. And that doesn't mean fear what dark means. Dark is the void, it's feminine, it's the principle of love. So be free now. The values of be free and now are 777. May you be activated and empowered and go online ever the more so. Blessings.